Hi, welcome back. Welcome back to Python class. And as you all know, I'm Onoyemi Hakim. The last time we stopped at assigning a single value to multiple variables. So now let's quickly look at that so that we can use that to solve the bug we encountered in our previous lesson before we took a break. So how can you assign a single value to multiple variable? For example, you have x equals to y equals to z equals to orange. Now this variable has been assigned in the sense that x is assigned to y is assigned to z, and z is assigned to orange. In this case, it means whatever value z is holding will also be equals to y and also be equals to x. So if I will be printing this, I will say print x, we are going to have orange, print y, we are still going to have orange, print z, we are going to have orange. And if we print everything, print x, comma, y, comma, z, we are still going to have orange, orange, orange. Also, if we try to use concatenation by saying print x plus y plus z, in this sense, it's going to concatenate everything, join them together. And if you want a space to be between them, all you need to do is just go to the print and include this as space. Then you put your plus sign again, you come to the back here, put your string and put your plus sign, enter. Then you have your values being separated with space. So that is that how to assign multiple variables to a singular value. Also, let's look at how to unpack collections. What do we mean by collections? Collection can be in form of set, can be in form of a list, can be in form of a dictionary, and it can be in form of a tuple. All these we are still going to talk about them in the coming lessons. So let's look at how can we unpack a collection. For example, let's create a list of fruits. So I will say fruit equals, okay, let me make it plural, equals, then we are going to have a list. This is how to define a list. Once you see a square bracket like this, it is referred to as a list. So in that case, we are going to have our fruit indicated as orange, separated by comma, create another quote, mango, separated with a comma, the quote, pawpaw, separated with a comma, yeah, then we have carrot. Now we have 4 items in the list of fruits. How can we unpack this? When you want to unpack it, what do we mean by unpack? That is, we want to lose them. We want to lose it out to each of their variables. So how can we unpack them? We want to assign them to separate variables and not just in one variable. For example, if I print fruit now, fruits, I'm going to have the list again. Oh, sorry. Oh, what I have assigned it is, instead of fruit, I wrote fruit. Sorry. Let me just correct that. Let me correct that so that we can have it straight. It is fruit and not. So now print fruit. We're going to have the list of fruits that we assign to fruits. That is just what that means. But now we now want to unpack. How can we unpack it? We have four values inside the list element. In this case, we need to assign each value to a variable. How can we do that? All we need to do is to what? To say x, comma, y, comma, z, comma, w is equals to fruit. Now this thing we've done simply means x, y, z is representing each of the fruits. If we are making use of three values, we are going to have an error because the list contain four values, which means when we make use of three variables to assign to four values, we are going to have an error. It won't be able to unpack it. So that is why we have to make it 4 in order to unpack the four values. So when we press enter, it has been assigned. Now instead of me printing fruit, I'll be printing each of the fruits one after the other, which means let me say print X, then I will have orange being printed, print Y, I will have mango being printed, print Z, I will have purple being printed, and print W, I will have carrot being printed. And you can also print everything at a go. Instead of print fruit, you can say what? Print X, comma, Y, comma, Z, comma, W. Then you're going to have everything without the square bracket, which we refer to as list. That means we have unpacked it. Remember, everything was packed together inside a list, which is the square bracket. But now we have unpacked it, which makes it to be what? To be out of the square bracket. If you look at it here, we have the square bracket in this, which means it is packed. And here we have all the values out of the square bracket, which means it is now unpacked. Then let's now look at how to identify our variable. Okay, how to output our variables. Outputting variable is very simple, which is what we've done here by using concatenation like plus to display our variables the way we want it. This is what we've done here. So, and print statement is an example of an output statement. So we've done something like this here. We've also done this. These are the ways you can output your variables. So we don't need to stress ourselves more on that. Then we also look at how to identify global variables and local variables. In this process, I'm going to write a function. So in this process now, I'll be telling you what a function is, I'll be telling you what definition does, and I'll be telling you things, I'll be telling you how to identify your global variable and your local variable in uh, this task I want to do right now. So first thing, I need a variable name, which means I will need to get a variable name. So let me just say, okay, I will be using the first initials of the fruits to create a variable name, which is OMPC equals to, let's say, Harrison. Then we create a definition. Definition means def. So when we write def, it means we want to define something. And what are we defining? A function. So that function, when you want to define a function, you have to use def, and the word that follows is your function name. So I want to do my fruit so that it won't be like I use my function. So my fruit. Then you have to add a bracket to it and a column. Once you do it this way and you press enter, you have automatically created a function, which is what? You've defined a function and that function is called my fruit. After that, you are going to see three dotted lines. These three dotted lines indicate that you need to indent your code before you can write the next thing that will follow the definitions, which means each of these write up that will follow the definitions must be below the definitions and must be indented. So in that case, I have indent this and I'm going to do something now again. I'm going to use the same name that I have created above below with another variable, which is OMC OMPC equals fantastic. Now, if you look at it, in the first one, I have OMPC as awesome. I have in the second one OMPC as fantastic. Now, we go to the next line. We indent again and we have what? Print. We want to print now. Then we have Python is, let me concatenate. That's an act of outputting your your code. You can output it this way. Now I want to concatenate. Why am I concatenating? I want to make use of the the name variable that we've defined, the OMPC. So I will just put OMPC there. Then I will press enter. You can see that it doesn't print anything. Why? Because I have defined a function. That function cannot be executed unless I call the function. So if I didn't call the function, automatically it cannot be executed. Now I need to call the function. How am I going to call the function? First, we are still under the three dot dot line, which shows that we have to indent. But when you want to call a function, we are through with our function definitions. Now we want to call the function, we have to exit the indent. And that means what? We are going to click on the backspace, then press an enter key. Once you see the three great greater than symbol, it means you are back to the normal block and not inside the indentation block. So now we can call the function by writing the name of the function, which is what? My fruit, and you put the bracket. Once you press enter now, automatically is going to call the function because we have written what is going to call the function. So that's why when I press enter, you see that it calls Python is fantastic. Why do we have Python is fantastic as our output? One, Python is fantastic is assigned to OMPC, which we also have OMPC assigned to Howison. In that case, we are expecting it to print Howison, but it's giving us Python is fantastic. Why? Because the the first OMPC, which is assigned to Howison, is a global variable. Anywhere on that system, that is anywhere in that shell, let me say it that way, anywhere inside that script or that shell, you can call that program, you can call that value, that that variable that you've assigned globally. So when you have a global variable, it can be used anywhere in the program you are writing. But the other OMPC that is assigned to fantastic is a local variable. Is a local variable because it can only be called when the function is called. It cannot be called when the function is not called. So, and it cannot be called outside of the function, which means it is only useful within the jurisdiction it belongs, which is it belongs to the my fruit function jurisdiction. But the first one, which is assigned to Howison, is that one is belonging to the general public. You know, when you have general and private. So general is the global variable which can be used by anybody. It can be used anytime by any function, by anything you want to make use of. But the what's the name? The OMPC is defined inside inside a function, which means it cannot be used by anybody, rather it can only be used by that function name that is being defined under. So now let's try to call the general one now. So we say what? Print Python is, and we concatenate, and we have OMPC, close the bracket. Now we should be expecting that, okay, since we have it now that is not even the under the function, we just want to call it. If we call it, it's supposed to give us Python is fantastic. No, we are going to receive Python is awesome, and that is why we call it a global variable, because what we called here, we are calling in a general public space. But what we call there, which is my fruit, we are calling a private space. So that is that on how to identify your global variable and your local variable. So also, okay, then I would like to try as much as possible to have a lot of exercise on local variable, on assigning variables, values to variables, and the likes that we've talked about. And I would like to meet you in our next class when we'll be talking about data type. Thank you and have a wonderful day. You can always reach out to me whenever there is issue on this. You can always reach out to me at TinyTrue on Twitter. I will surely respond back to you. Thank you.